How do you tell a friend that you want to be more than just friends? This is not the kind of question I expected to get when I started this podcast, but I have some thoughts. Let's get into it, shall we? Hey, you, how's it going? How are you? It's AD Roundtree. Welcome to this, your Thursday edition of the show. Yeah, Thursday. You know, that means this time tomorrow, you will have officially made it through yet another week. This is no small accomplishment. You're doing awesome. Hang in there. You got this. You are a badass. And if you need something, if there's anything I can do for you to make your Thursday better, hit me up. I'm here with you. I'm here for you. At ADSXE is where you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at ADSXE. Put it in your phone now in case you need it later. Thank you so much to everyone that's supporting the show on Patreon. You can do that too, patreon.com/ADSXE. Like I've said over and over again, I'll never put this show behind a paywall. I'll never charge a subscription fee because most of our conversations are about health and mental health, and I think those conversations should be free to everyone for all time. But if you did want to kick in a couple of bucks, you can do that, patreon.com/ADSXE. You can support the show that way, and that way you also get to listen to commercial-free episodes. Thank you so much for joining me. I was not expecting to answer a relationship question on this show, and I guess it's not really a relationship question because it's not a relationship yet. But I got a message from Paul who said, "Okay, AD, you have a way with words, and I need your help. How do I tell one of my best friends that I'm totally into them and I would love to be more than friends? You always know just how to put things. What would you say? I don't want to ruin our friendship, but I don't know if I can keep being just her friend." Aha! All right, I'm probably the last person to come to when it comes to this sort of thing. Only because I not necessarily all that good at it. In my younger years, I was painfully shy. In high school, it took, to quote George Costanza from Seinfeld, I had to get into a mood like the guy's about to break the karate. I had to get into a mood like the karate guy's about to break the bricks before I could go up and talk to a girl. It did not come naturally or easy to me. Then, when I was still a teenager, I got to be in this band. We got a record deal and things moved really fast. All of a sudden, we were on the radio. We were on MTV. We were playing shows to hundreds and then thousands of people. And, well, that puts you in a bit of an advantageous position when it comes to meeting girls. My big move was I would play a show and then stand around, and inevitably someone would come up to me, and after enough people came up to me, someone that I was interested in as well would come along, and that's usually how things started. So it wasn't a big challenge on my part. I didn't ever have to walk up to people and go, "Hi, I'm Adrian. Would you like to get a cup of coffee sometime?" No, that didn't work for me. However, I do have some thoughts about what you're saying, about wanting to approach your friend because you want to be more than just her friend. And my thought is, it sounds like you really like her. And if that's true, if you really do, this might be a giant cliche, but you should do something about it. Now, I don't know how you know her. If she's one of your best friends through work, then you will want to consult your human resources manual accordingly and act in such a way that will not end your employment or her employment. However, there's no two ways about it. Life is short. Life is short, too short to not try and do the things you want to do. Life is too short to not go for it if there's somebody that you think could be the one. And if not the one, someone very special to you. It's cliche, but we only have a limited number of hours on this earth. And we don't want to get to the end of our time, look back on it and go, coulda, shoulda, woulda. And you never know. She might figure it out, might come to you. She might not. And, well, I tell you this much, there's definitely a chance of missing out if you don't do something. So I would do it. depending on how strongly you feel about her, I would go ahead and do it. How to do it is the question you asked me. How would I do it? Well, it doesn't matter how I would do it because I'm not you and you're not me. You should say it in a way that makes sense to you. Here's what I wouldn't do. I wouldn't make it a huge deal. I wouldn't put a whole bunch of pressure on it for yourself. Look, if you feel strongly about it, there's no two ways about it. It's going to take some guts and some gumption, and you're going to get nervous and maybe a little tongue-tied when you do it. But I think the important thing, especially if you're a friend, if you're someone she likes already, well, that's a pretty big first step. You know she likes you. You don't know if she likes you like that or could like you like that. Given a chance to think of you in that way, but you know that you have a friendship and she likes you. So there's that. So you should be yourself. I wouldn't make it a big deal though. Like I said, obviously you're going to stress about it. I think the most important part of what you say is probably the word date. Because you want to be clear. You're friends, and I don't know how you're friends. I don't know how much time you spend together. I don't know if you hang out at each other's places. I don't know if you hang out with groups of people. I don't know how long you've known each other, how long you've been a part of each other's social circle, or if you are a part of each other's social circle, or if you have totally different sets of friends. But I do know that if you're friends, you've been spending time together. So I think you should use the word date. I think you should use the word date because it differentiates the hanging out that you may have done in the past to the hanging out you'd be interested in doing. And I would do it sooner rather than later. Because, well, if it's a big old no, if it's a hard pass on the wanting to take things to a different level with you, and you know, you can recover and you can move on. Now, a lot of people are worried about destroying a friendship when they do something like that. Here's the thing. This is what I've learned about relationships, friendships, relationships with people that you work with. Things change, things move, things evolve, things go up and down. And you never know what your relationship is going to turn into. Hey, Millhouse, shh, we're podcasting over here. But here's the thing. Relationships change and evolve like you wouldn't believe. And yeah, this might hurt your friendship. This might make it awkward to spend time together. It might make it impossible to spend time together afterwards. But you said it yourself. You don't know if you can just be her friend anymore. And maybe it makes it awkward to the point where you don't have the friendship you once did. But when I say things come and go, relationships change, if it makes it awkward, if it stops you from being friends, it doesn't necessarily stop you from being friends forever. There's going to be people that stick around in your life, and there's going to be times where they are very present in your life and times when they are not. There's going to be times where your relationship is good and times where you're just not getting along. I think I learned a big lesson by having some very cool, very understanding, and in some cases, very forgiving coworkers. There were some folks, I guess maybe, 10, 12 years ago that I worked with at various radio stations that, well, we didn't get along. For whatever reason, they didn't like me and I didn't like them. And I couldn't tell you exactly where it happened or how it happened, but I can tell you that we are incredibly close now. These are some of my best friends. And what that taught me was never give up on a relationship being good. Whether that's with a coworker that you don't especially like, whether that's someone in your social circle that kind of annoys you, whether that's a friend who you ask out on a date, it gets awkward, they don't want to talk to you for a while. doesn't mean they're not going to talk to you forever. There's going to be people that stick around in your life for years and years, and your relationship with them will change and evolve. And so what? So what if you make things awkward between the two of you by asking? From the sounds of things, it was awkward for you already anyway. And, well, it's not unfair to her to not let her know. But when you think about what you have to lose, in the grand scheme of things, it's nowhere near as bad as if you look back on it and wonder, what if? So, I would do it by being yourself. Like I said, you already know they like you. And I would just make sure that you use the word date. So there's no kind of messing around. That you really understand that you have told her that you would like to do something different. And hey, maybe you go on one date. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Maybe you realize, I didn't think this was for me. Or this didn't work out the way I thought it would. Or this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me, and I'm so glad I did it. But I would start by being yourself, being the person that she already likes, and saying something to the effect of, hey, you know this hanging out we do? Would you like to hang out in a different way? Like you, me, go on a date. Whatever that is to you, whatever that is to her, whatever sounds like fun. But make it clear what it is. She'll understand if you say, would you like to go on a date, you and me? And if that leads to more, well, then that leads to more. If it freaks her out and she retreats and says no, then you know and you can move on with your life. I would do it sooner rather than later. As soon as you can summon up the courage. And, well, I would make sure that you use the word date. I guess the other big question about this in the digital era is, how do you want to do it? How do you want to ask her out on a date? Do you want to do it in person? I'm of the opinion that when you are doing personal things, in-person stuff is better. Over the phone might be good, but we are a textier, messengier society than we ever have been. We are a more texty and messagey society than we ever have been. So, well, that might be the way to go as well. And the other thing is, if you text her and ask her out, it lacks the personal touch of looking into her eyes as you say these things or having her hear your voice if you call her up. But it also gives her time to respond and gather herself. If there's any kind of shock, well, that allows her to deal with it in her own way without putting her on the spot, which is also a nice thing to do. Like I said, I would be yourself. And depends on how you do the vast majority of your communication. If you have a more texty friendship, maybe a text is the way to go. If you have a more talking face-to-face type of friendship, well, perhaps that looking right at her and saying, hey, you know how we hang out? You want to do it a little differently? Would you like to go on a date with me? Like maybe dinner and a movie? See how that goes? Because I like you. And I don't know if you like me, but I couldn't forgive myself if I didn't ask. I like you as more than just friends. Something along those lines. Give that a go. And look, I'm not saying it'll work. It might not work. It might be absolutely unthinkable to her to see you in that way. But, like I said before, life is short. And as much regret as you may have, if it doesn't go the way you want it to go, I guarantee you it won't be as much regret as you have if you get to your if you get to the end of your time on this earth and are looking back on this and other things going, oh, I wonder what would have happened if. that is it for me. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you for being a part of my radio family. As always, this time that you and I spent together, it's the best part of my day. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll do it all over again. Have a great one. Later.